Hello and welcome to Wee Crafty Crow. I am Lisa Crow of Wee Crafty Crow and I'm a certified Zentangle teacher. Today I'm going to teach you one of my very favourite tangles ever and it's called Mysealiam, and it was originally deconstructed by Zentangle HQ. So I believe the name of this one came from the fact that Rick and Maria have a grandson called Liam who's very into sea life. As you can see, this looks very aquatic. So the grandson is called Liam. Mysealiam. It's a really, really nice tangle, and I just love the drama of this one once you start adding the pencil in, and you know, it just gets a lot of interest in those shadows. So I'm going to get started. I'll show you the rest of these tangles at the end once I'm done. I'm just going to do this on a grey tile today. I'm going to go straight in with my pen. I'm not going to do any strings at all today. So we're just going to start out with a curvy, wiggly line that kind of goes about 3/4 of the length of the page, but in the middle, roughly. And then out of that, we're going to do another line that's fairly curvy, like so. And at the top of each of these lines that we're going to draw, we're going to add a bit of weighting, just some ink at the top of that section. So then we're going to aura rather, and we're going to start going. I like to join this first bit onto the bottom here rather than just joining it somewhere along the length. I like to go right to the bottom. You might do it in a different way. But then as you go along, you can see that I'm tapering it in a little bit earlier than the previous one. And I just love the effect that you get from this one. I mean, it already looks to me as if it's moving, as if it's like dancing or something. It's a really lovely tangle. So, like I said before, each time that I'm doing an aura line, I'm attaching it a little bit higher up than I did on the previous one. And this will start to give you a really interesting shape. I'm going to just add a little bit more on the edge there. And even more again. Just flick that over. Now, once you've done all the way over to the right hand side, we're going to do the same thing, except we're moving in towards the left. So this first one, I'm going to bring that aura all the way down to the end of that first line. And then adding a bit of ink up at the top. You'll see once I get to the end of this lesson, if you stick around to the end, you'll see how many times that I've done this. And the tangles that I have looked out, tiles that I've looked out, aren't even all of the examples of mycelium that I've drawn. I've done it on bigger artworks. Like, you know, I did it on one of the project packs that was out. I think it was the one, don't know if you follow along with the project packs, you may know there's one that Zentangle released where it was on a big piece of paper and it looked like a tree. Whatever project pack number that was, I had Mysealiam in there. I just never get bored of this one. Just going to flick this wee bit in a little bit more. So once we've done that side, we're going to turn our tile upside down, and then find, it doesn't have to be the actual first one, but roughly the one that's in the centre, and we're going to roughly create the same effect that we did previously. And this top section of the Mysealiam is going to actually look a bit blacker. It's really nice. I was actually at something called a Connect Cafe at a wellbeing centre. So it's for wellbeing practitioners to kind of come together. It's basically networking, but there was some meditation and mindfulness practice, and we each got to tell everybody else in the room what it is that we do, what our wellbeing practice is. And I was talking about Zentangle, and I was showing them some samples of previous things that I've drawn. And somebody in the room, because I said, oh, I think a Mysealiam in normal context, out of Zentangle world, I think it's a type of mushroom. And just bizarrely, somebody in that room said, oh yeah, it is actually a mushroom. I have Mysealiam tattooed on my arm. So I wasn't expecting that. It's not the same kind of shape as this Mysealiam. So we're just doing roughly the same thing as before, as you can see, except that it just ends up that the lines are a lot thicker than the previous ones. And each time that you start this Mysealiam, you're roughly auraing the top of that stroke that you'd put down before. Nearly there. So that is the Mysealiam shape. So what I usually do at this stage, I'm actually just going to extend this little bit here, just to kind of aura this line here. And then I'm going to put an aura around the entire shape. I'm just trying to keep that aura line roughly the same thickness all the way around. I really love that. I really love it. So what I usually do with Mysealiam I mean, because you could leave that just as it is on its own, but I quite like, as you'll see from the examples that I've left aside, I quite like having basically tipple, the orb shapes, and I just place them fairly randomly around the mycelium. You can have them sort of in a cluster, and you can have them, like, they don't need to be on the mycelium. We could have them kind of float as if they're floating around. But for me, these orbs, once they're kind of shaded, just kind of adds to the water feel of this. I can maybe put another orb here. So I'm probably just going to have a fairly quick tangle lesson today, but I really liked Mycelium, so I just decided to share this one. So once we move on to the shading, we're going to put a pencil line just under here at the tops of the very first section that we put down. And remembering not to put your graphite down too heavily, because you can always add some more graphite later if you feel like you haven't added enough in the first place, but it's a bit more difficult to smooth it out if you have put down too much to begin with. Kind of get left with a big thick line. But already I think you should be able to see that's adding quite a good illusion of depth, as if it's got like a lid on it or something. So I'm just going in now with a bit more of this graphite. I'm just going to the wrong side, never mind. And then I'm going to go into each of these orb shapes, and in the bottom right hand side of each, I'm just going to add what basically Zentangle would describe as a smile shape, I think, like a little grin. Just smoothing that out, and then once you start doing that, before we've even added any highlight, it's already starting to make those orbs look a bit more spherical rather than just being flat. And I really like that. So now onto my highlighting, and in the top left I'm going to put just a little bit of this white pastel pencil, and then smooth that out just in the exact same way as I've done with the graphite. And then what I like to do, I'm sure this is exactly what Zentangle HQ do, I put some white highlight along the top of this mycelium, like so. And then just tease that up. I love it. I really do. I'm just going to go over these tips of this mycelium just to restate the ends of those lines. I might wish that I hadn't bothered, but we'll see. I'm going to add even more graphite under here. So dramatic. And really that is all that there is to mycelium. Such a wonderful, wonderful tangle. You could put, I'm going to put a little bit of graphite down at the bottoms here. And you could potentially put, you know, just a little bit, just to emphasise, like, as if that's a bit more 3D. As if some of them are going behind one another. Sometimes I don't like to add too much of the highlight and shades in case I kind of ruin the illusion of what I've done already. Put a wee bit there because that's away from where the shadow is. And then blend this out. And that is mycelium. So one more step is that I'm going to add my chop. And then I'll show you some of the other tiles that I've drawn with this tangle on it. So this one, I think I showed you to begin with, was just a tile that I'd previously put some watercolour on and then drew on the top of that. I've done it on black as well with some metallic, I think these were jelly rolls, but they might not be. I've also got Sino, I don't know how you pronounce the name of it. It might be, just trying to find. I've got a set of these that are in various different colours. I think it might actually have been this set that I used for that one. I've done it, this was based on a Zentangle project pack. I think one of the days in a project pack. I drew it in the round. This is in a lesson that I did with one of my students. I liked it in the round. This one is the exact same idea. It's not finished yet, but you can kind of see where I was going with that. I like these water drops here. I was contemplating adding the water drops when I was doing that, but I couldn't remember exactly the steps to kind of do it justice. I think that was Zenlinia, Anna Gabrovitz. I think one of her paid lessons that I bought demonstrated how to do the water drops. It's really nice. And then the last one that I've got, I'll zoom out a bit for this one. You can get a little glimpse of my tripod there. So I've got the mycelium here. This is for the most recent project pack that Zentangle did just in the summer. And so I think you can see, like, and when I tell you as well that this is barely scratching the surface of the amounts of times that I've done mycelium. Love this tangle. So I hope you have enjoyed that tutorial. If you have tangled along with me, please do share your tangle with me, your tile with me. I'd really love to see what you come up with. And also, if you've enjoyed this video, please subscribe to my channel, because then it means that you're not going to miss out on any future videos that I have coming out. And following me on social media as well. I'm on Insta and Facebook as @WeCraftyCrow. So thank you very much for joining along, and I'll see you at a future tutorial soon, I hope. And by all means, if you have any tangles that you would like me to teach on my channel, do let me know and I'll see what I can do. Thank you very much. Bye.